Champions League predictions, people. A new round is upon us, and an exciting one it is, okay? A lot of decision makings are gonna happen this round, and let us know your predictions down below before you get to it in this video, and like this video for more predictions just like this one. But on a Tuesday, we're gonna do this per group, Breton, okay? So on Group F on Tuesday, we have massive games with Dortmund, Newcastle United. What are you thinking here with this one, Breton?
Oof! Wow. Well,
it's a massive one.
Do we want to talk about the Klassiker here? Or do we want to wait until after this? Because my goodness, I don't think Edin Terzic should be the boss of Dortmund moving forward. I don't think they're going to get better under him. There, I said it. But I think this is a massive game. Very clearly. And Newcastle has a injury list the size of my 3-year-old's Santa Claus list. And I just think Dortmund needs, they have to win this game. They're still obviously in the thick of it, but anything to rinse their mouth of that horrendous display against Bayern Munich. And it could just be that Bayern outclassed them, but this is a Bayern Munich. I mean, the worst thing that happened to Dortmund for the D-Klassiker heading into this, the worst thing that happened was watching Bayern Munich get kicked out of the DFB Pokal by a third division side, Saarbrücken, because what did it do? It pissed every one of those players off. And they went out and they wiped the floor with Dortmund. So I'm going to say it. Dortmund is vulnerable right now. Newcastle, doesn't matter if you throw Matt Ritchie in there because Dan Burns injured. I think Newcastle's playing more like a good cohesive side. I'm going to say Newcastle is going to at least pull a point out here.
I agree.
At least pull a point.
I agree. I think Newcastle at least are going to pull a point at Signal Iduna Park. But this is a decisive game. Both teams with 4 points. Dortmund and Newcastle. Dortmund must win this game against Newcastle, that are the weakest team compared to AC Milan, PSG, and and Dortmund, okay? Okay, I said weakest team. You're not seeing it at tape, but I said with those 2 fingers up, okay, because they're not the weakest. At home, I think they're the toughest of all those 4 teams, okay, Newcastle. But Newcastle right now, in their last 11 games, they only have 1 loss. And I love to see that Arsenal win, okay, because they deserved it totally. And this is underrated about Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe has improved so many people within the Newcastle team instead of signing others to replace them. Newcastle,
it's not a novelty.
It's not a novelty, exactly.
But isn't that like a foreign concept? We were talking about Ten Hag before. I just think you're absolutely right. Eddie Howe has improved players from within. The same how like Big Ange has already. He's got Basuma and Sarr, 2 cast-offs from Antonio Conte. I'm going off on a tangent here, but I 100% agree with you. That's all I'm trying to say.
It's true.
Eddie Howe has got them playing.
And Eddie Howe's got players that were there before he is signed, and those players are much better. And those players are Joe Ellington, Almiron, Callum Wilson, and Fabian Schär. 4 players that are key players for this team in terms of their results in the Premier League and Champions League. I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle wins this, but I'll go with a draw too, just like you. Okay, AC Milan PSG, big game this one. What do you think with this?
Well, this is a bad time for AC Milan to meet PSG. AC Milan is flagging. They have not played decent football in a little while. Or at least inspired football, like those first few fixtures during the season. So they are vulnerable as well. So it might be at San Siro, but PSG is coming off of their first 5-game win streak in almost a year's time. Mbappe looks good, but you know who looks even better? Next year's golden boy, Warren Zaire-Emery has 2 goals, 4 assists in his last 5 games. And just so you don't have to, I double-checked his birth date. And, yeah, he's still 17 years old, Alex. So he's got 2 goals in the last 2 games. And then before that, he had 4 assists in 3 games. So I love to see it. But at the same time, the Rossoneri are coming in after losing to Udinese, after Rafa Leao having a little bit of a throwdown on the sideline with Pioli, him not using Christian Pulisic at all, and they're winless in 4. I don't know. The only good thing for them going right now is that this is at San Siro. That's it. But I think PSG wins this.
I agree.
I'm worried.
I agree.
I think PSG wins this.
Well said with what you said about those 5 wins. You can feel it. And PSG right now with Mbappe, Warren Zaïre-Emery, Luis Enrique much happier, you can get the sense of they're going upwards. And they are dark horses in the Champions League, people. I believe they're going to the quarterfinals and maybe semifinals too if they don't go against a team like Real Madrid, Barca, or Man City, okay? That those are the big boogeyman for anyone, Man City. But yes, I think clearly after the Ballon d'Or ceremony, Mbappe, he's got a villain eyesight, okay, when he looks at Messi with that Ballon d'Or title. And I believe there's no Ronaldo and no Messi in Europe, but there's Mbappe, Haaland, and Jude Bellingham right now. And I believe Mbappe knows that if he gets the Euros and the Champions League, game over. And the first Champions League ever in PSG history. If that happens, okay, the team that plays in a Farmers League, the team that always buys the players to win the league, no, they buy the players now to win the Champions League too. So that's what Mbappe, that's what he wants to do this season. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I do believe, and I agree with you, that they're going to beat AC Milan in this game. And well said. And Zaïre-Emery, he's going to be called up for France. This month.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like.
This month. 17.
Just
put Chouameni and Zaïre-Emery with Camavinga. That's going to be the starting midfield in the Euros. You'll see. Rabiot's underrated, but come on. Zaïre-Emery is so good.
To
so
be
good.
called up at 17 years old. Okay, so the last 17-year-old probably to be called up by Les Bleus. I don't know. Was Kylian Mbappe 17 when he was called up?
He must possibly.
I'll have to look this up.
I don't think he's the youngest, though, if he gets to. But he could be, yeah. He
Probably
could
not,
be.
no.
But let's wait and see.
Unbelievable.
Okay. Group
Yeah.
G, so this is a bit of a different one in terms of vibes here. But Red Star against RB Leipzig. What are we feeling here?
Well, you know what? This is in Belgrade. And RB Leipzig is coming off of 2 losses. And this last loss, I have really no explanation for. Everybody just looked tepid. They looked not as confident as previously. They figured out Xavi Simons, maybe. I have no clue. One thing I do know for sure is they got to figure out their goalkeeping because Janis Blažević is not your guy. And will not be your guy in the future. But Belgrade, I think they have a couple ballers, notably Kings Kangwa, who is really, really fun to watch. But I still think Leipzig is going to use this as a bounce back. They're coming off of 2 losses, and they are going to be ready to rip some people to shreds. Whether or not they can do that, that's a different question. But I think we'll see the return of Simmons, and I think Benjamin Sesko should get the start in this one. He deserves it. Let him run rampant and see if he can actually make that spot his own. Start Sesko up top with Openda. Let's get crazy. I'd love to see it. But I think Leipzig will win this.
Unreal that you're mentioning those 2 players when they sell in Kunku this summer, okay? Yeah. But yes, I was quite surprised with them losing against Mainz. I wasn't expecting that, especially after they win the last weekend 6-0. Their result, 6-0, okay? They won RB Leipzig. But yes, going with what you said, after selling Nkunku, after selling Gvardiol, after selling Szoboszlai, they now have Seifeld, they have Openda, Xavi Simons on loan, that he had his first Champions League goal and assist the last round. And I fully expect now to beat Red Star and to end top 3 in the Bundesliga this season right now. That is my choice. Yep. RB Leipzig to win this game away against Belgrade. Man City Young Boys. I think this is a... I don't want to be disrespectful towards Young Boys, but I think Man City are going to win in the Etihad. That it is true. Etihad is now a fortress. We say that about the St. James Park with Newcastle, but Etihad with Man City is 100% one of the biggest fortresses in world of football. 21 home wins in a row. Like the best ever in Premier League history. One of the best Premier League sides ever. Going against now Young Boys. Come on. It's got to be.
Man City. I think we need to start a petition to actually change Manchester City's name to Jeremy Doku FC,
Ah.
because what a performance from him. I love Pep Guardiola. I mean, he said it correctly. I don't even know what he's going to do. I love it. I love not knowing what he's going to do and how he's going to make a difference. And for those that don't know, he becomes, if I'm not mistaken, he becomes only the 8th in the last 20 plus years, 8th player, Premier League player, to register a poker of assists. And this is a 21-year-old? 21-year-old who just landed in one of the biggest clubs. I'm sorry, the club that just won the treble. And immediately
European.
he goes to 4 assists, has a goal on his own. And we're looking at players like Paul Pogba. We're looking at Santi Cazorla. We're looking at Fabregas. We're looking at Dennis Bergkamp. I just had a lot of Arsenal players that have done this poker of assists thing. Jeremy Doku now joins all of them. So I just have to say that that was one of the more entertaining displays from anyone in the Premier League this season.
No,
individually.
You're saying it right. Mentioning Jeremy Doku and entertaining in the same sentence makes total sense. And I completely agree. Jeremy Doku for £60 million will be seen as one of the biggest bargains of the last summer transfer window. One of the best under 23 players right now in football, and Jeremy Doku is one of the best dribblers in football right now at under 23. 4 assists, 1 goal, and right now, season stats, it's 12 games, 3 goals, 6 assists for Jeremy Doku. That has just arrived next to Phil Foden, next to Alvarez, next to Haaland, next to Rico Lewis, all under 23. Insane. And Jeremy Doku just landed at Man City, and I think it's undoubtable, no doubt, Jeremy Doku is fact that he's been better than Marcus Rashford since he's landed at Man City. Okay? The best winger in Manchester right now, Jeremy Doku. Okay? So that's the bold set of statements that he's doing, and he's just arrived for £60 million, people. And Rodri, too. It's worthy to mention, too. God. Rodri is unbeaten in each of his last 38 games for Man City. Absolutely vital. Best CDM in the world, playing under Pep Guardiola. And in the meantime, with those 38 games, he won 4 trophies and all that too. In which there's a Premier League and a Champions League trophy in those 2. Unreal.
Yep.
Unreal. How can that happen?
To throw young boys a bone here, because this is at the Etihad. I mean, maybe Man City will rest Erling Haaland. In fact, I think that they should, since they've pretty much already got their foot in the knockout round door. But Erling Haaland apparently, rolled his ankle or something like that. This would be a good time to give him a little rest. But we'll see if, Erling Haaland also wants to play every minute of every game and score every goal. So I think young boys are going to be in it. I think they'll put up a good fight because they've actually been in really good form, at least in the Swiss Super League. But no, Manchester City is Group G leader. They are also going to be Group G winner.
It's true. 3-3. It's going to be 4-4. I think so too. Group E now with Atletico against Celtic. Quite a good, not a good decision. It's going to have lovers. It's going to have haters. But the truth is, Diego Simeone has just extended his contract with Atletico de Madrid, and it's going to be until 2027. But it's absolutely mad that El Cholo Simeone has been at the club, La Cocholeros, since 2011. And the truth is, at times, he has leveled with Real Madrid and Barca. One of the strongest Barca teams or one of the strongest Real teams ever in the history of the game. So, Simeone, keep going bold your way, okay? Because João Felix, that wasn't the right way for him. But that's a whole other conversation. And I think Atletico is going to win this game against Celtic. And with a Griezmann goal.
Okay. I think you're right. I mean, this is at the Wanda, but they did lose a shocking game to Las Palmas. And I'm just saying, while it might sound the same, you never know. Luis Palma, who plays for Celtic, might decide he wants to score a few goals at the Wanda.
Could happen.
We'll see what happens. So you see what I did there? You Las Palmas, who they lost to, and Luis Palma. Anyway, no, he's that Honduran player I was telling you about. That he's kind of like their new Jota.
5 million.
Because he's been phenomenal for them. Came over from, I think it was Aris in the Greek Super League, and I'll be excited to see him when CONCACAF qualifying rolls around. Even though the U.S., Mexico, and Canada aren't a part of it, but that's probably goes without saying. Atleti will rule the day at Wanda, and they'll want to get that bad taste out of their mouth after losing to a team they probably shouldn't have. And by the way, Las Palmas, good on you, because they're newly promoted. And they are playing well right now. They are pretty far up there in the table, at least a whole lot higher than a newly promoted team probably should be. And a lot of people remember former Barcelona target Alberto Molero, who's back healthy. He's playing well again, and we'll see where his future lies. But good on Las Palmas for unsettling the tippy top of that La Liga table.
It's true. Las Palmas are not looking like Burnley that had home turf. They've their first team ever in home turf in the Premier League to have 6 consecutive losses in the first 6 Premier League home games. That's Burnley's stat with Vincent Kompany, a student of Pep Guardiola. But I'm going with Atletico in this game. And at Lazio Feyenoord in Group E, I am going with Feyenoord in this game, okay? I am betting on Santiago Giménez against Mauricio Sarri. And I believe a lot in this Arne Slot team that will have a goal of Santiago Giménez in this game too. And Gertruida, what a player for Feyenoord too. Unreal.
That's a good shout. That's a good shout. I think I'm going to say draw on this one because Mauricio Sarri needs something. They've lost 2 of their last 3. But if you're going to point out Gertruda, I got to point out once again Kelvin Stenks. He leads the Champions League right now in chances created per game with 4.7 chances created. So Feyenoord is back in the wins after losing a shock Eredivisie game. So I think they're gonna. I don't think they'll put the sword to Lazio, but they'll play pretty dang hard, get out of there with a draw. But I definitely see Atleti and Feyenoord going through in this group.
And the last one of Tuesday is going to be Group H with Porto against Antwerp. I'm going to go with Porto in this game in Estádio do Dragão. Come on, they
even after that loss?
Even after that shocking loss to Estoril, no one was expecting it. But Estoril have some good players. Rodrigo Gomes, João Marques, 2 youngsters that, if you don't know the Portuguese league, please pay attention to these 2 Estoril youngsters. But yes, Porto, they're going to beat Antwerp because they need an answer towards that loss. And they want to qualify in the Champions League as early as possible. And they'll do that against Antwerp. Porto.
I think Porto will win this as well. Even though Antwerp did have a big win over Genk. I believe it's Union Saint-Gilloise, and it's who else? It's Anderlecht is back up near the top of the Belgian tables because I think what we're seeing is Royal Antwerp's having a tough time dealing with the multifaceted campaigns, right? Multiple campaigns. They don't have a big, deep enough roster, so they're really digging deep here. But Porto's, once again, I think they're going to come in pretty angry at that loss, and they're going to take it out on Royal Antwerp.
And Ivan Nilsson had a hat-trick in the last round of the Champions League for Porto.
True.
And it's Taremi with Ivan Nilsson now, the duo at strikers. So no more doubts with the duo at strikers for Porto. And Sérgio Conceição, quite a good coach, Breton. Quite a good coach for Porto in the Champions League too. Shakhtar Barca, I think there's no surprises here too, right? Barca to win this.
I don't think so.
Barca to win this.
I just have to ask you a question. I think Barca to win this, but do you have I've been seeing a lot more negative attention, at least on X, which I know is not the place to go for positive news. But I'm seeing a lot of negative attention around João Felix. I just want to know kind of your take on it. It's basically them saying that he once again does not seem like he fits in the system. He's had some very good games, and then he's been a little bit despondent, I guess, or maybe a lack of clarity in his play over the last few times. That's what I read. It's not necessarily what I think, but I know you watch him quite frequently. Would you agree with any of their negativity, or do you think it's all just bluster?
Watching every Barca game this season, what I can say is the injuries of Pedri, Frankie de Jong, and the poor form of Lewandowski is making people assume that. Okay, I don't think João Felix is having a bad stench, but he's not looking his best. But I don't think anyone in this Barca team right now currently is looking at their best with their form right now.
Yep.
Maybe Ronald Araújo, that he scored the 92nd winner against Real Sociedad, and Ronald Araújo, with no injuries, is one of the best center backs in the world. And having Conde, Ronald Araújo, Christensen is a luxury in my eyes. And Barca have one of the strongest Barca teams I've seen in the last 5 years with Xavi. They gotta guide this team towards success and a back-to-back La Liga win and a Champions League success, doing better than last season that they got eliminated in the group stages. But they had beaten an unbeaten Real Sociedad team in their last 19 games. Okay, Barca did that, and it was not easy until the end. And I want to mention Ter Stegen. I saw the Ballon d'Or ceremony. The Yashin Trophy goes to Emiliano Martinez. But the best goalkeeper in the world right now for me is Ter Stegen. Maybe Alisson is in the discussion against Ter Stegen. But the critical saves he's having, like, he's the unspoken hero of Barca. Oh, and he's 4 years left in his contract too. So he's going to be there the next 3 years. And he's going to do amazing saves.
Araujo may have scored the game-winning goal, but Ter Stegen is the reason why they were in that game at the Oneonta. So I agree with you that Ter Stegen was huge in that derby. I feel bad. We'll talk about Real Sociedad in a second because Sociedad has actually played very well against the three best teams in La Liga. You know, Atleti, Real Madrid, and Barca, but there are also 3 losses.
And in the Champions League, they're playing quite well too. And with Barca, the best midfielder this season of Barca, the underrated one, I'll say Fermin Lopez. But the best midfielder, Gavi. And against Real Sociedad, most tackles, most duels, and most touches. Against a team with Zubimendi, Brais Mendes, highly active midfielders. And Merino. So Gavi, keep going bold. The hero, the leader of this team at 19. So I'm going to go with Barca, with the Bulldog. Barca winning this game. So now on Wednesday, we have Group C here with Napoli against Union Berlin. And what I got to say about Union Berlin is Union Berlin with Bonucci in 12 games. Do you know how many wins they have, Britton?
0.
0 wins.
Absolutely none.
0 wins. None. Do you know how many draws they have, Breton?
I'm pretty sure it's still 0.
0. So, Price is right, Breton. 0-0-12, Union Berlin. So, Bonucci hasn't added value to a team that is in the Champions League. It's absolutely mad. It's mad.
It's atrocious. It's absolutely atrocious. They're lucky they have 2 wins in the Bundesliga. Because that they opened the season with, but since then it has been all downhill, and I honestly can't see any hope for them in this game, even without Victor Osimhen, because Giacomo Raspadori has 3 goals and an assist in his last 4 games.
First free kick of
still only 23 years old. I mean, you saw Elmas, you saw Kvaratskhelia is still doing pretty well, and obviously this is in Naples. So the only real positive thing here for Union, who absolutely need a win because their fixtures beyond this look absolutely terrible too. The only positive is Napoli has not been very good at home so far this season. They've lost 3 times. Believe it or not, they're dominant away. They're unbeaten away. They've won 6 and 7 away, and I think, not lost at all. So I think that's the only real saving grace, but they're relying on guys, like David Datro Fofana, who's on loan. Brennan Aronson, who is, I'm going to say it right now, he's too small. He's not looking good at all. And we can talk about that at a later date. But there is nothing necessarily looking up for Union Berlin. And a lot of people thought about this or thought that this day would come at some point, because if you look at their past 2 seasons, they outperformed their metrics, their analytics, their XG, whatever you want to call it. They outperformed it so starkly, so much, that it was virtually impossible that the reversion to the mean at some point was not going to come down. But you would have at least expected, like you mentioned, a draw or 2 in 12 games, and Napoli is not going to give them that. So Napoli's winning.
And Napoli beat them in the last round. Round 3, it was in Union Berlin's house, 1-0 for Napoli. So I think Napoli are going to have this win at home, and they're going to solidify themselves as the second place of this group with Real Madrid in first, and Braga getting Europa League. I think this group will be finished. I think Group C will be finishing with Real Madrid, Napoli, and Braga. And I'm so happy that Braga is going to get Europa League with all this. I don't think they'll be beating Real Madrid, by no means. But I think we're going to see Alvaro Jallo, Al Musrati, Ricardo Horta, really good players showcasing their talents to the world, because everybody watches Champions League. So, yeah.
What about your Primera Liga top goal scorer in Simon Banza?
Good player. Good player, bro.
Yeah.
Abel Ruiz, Simon Banza. I think if he can score, but I think my player to score in the Bernabeu is Alvaro Jallo. And I think Alvaro Jallo could be called up for Spain. I know, if Grimaldo doesn't even get called up for Spain, who does? This guy saying Alvaro Jallo, if Braga gets called up. Look, people, trust me, he's underrated, okay? He's going to leave Braga soon, and he's a player that you should be watching in Primera Liga. Alvaro Jallo. Okay, he's very versatile and very good. Okay, and with Real Madrid, I just wanted to say Nico Paz. Okay, we're starting to see a lot of Arda Güler, but Nico Paz is getting a lot of propaganda, and he deserves that. One of the best talents from La Fábrica the past 3 years that I've seen, and yeah, he's a rising star coming up right now. Okay, so
absolutely,
just wanted to mention that in the Real Madrid talk, because Nico Paz, he's going up.
Yeah, we'll see.
You're Real Madrid too.
Yeah, well,
okay.
we were going to talk about Group D. You want to talk about Group D next?
Group D, I'm not going to say the unknown dark horse group, but like this is the unknown group of death. Group D right now for me, okay? So Real Sociedad, Benfica. This is a Benfica team with 0 points in the Champions League. This is a Benfica team that is heavy reliance on a 19-year-old that is João Neves. Benfica needs something different in the Champions League, and if it happens, I wouldn't be surprised, okay? I'm saying it here first. Real Sociedad lost their first game in 19 against Barça. They were unbeaten 19 games, and Benfica con João Neves, Benfica with hope that Roger Schmidt can do something different, something can happen. Yeah. But yes, I'm going to go with a draw in this game. I'm here.
You're going to go with a draw?
I'm going with it. And that's bold, mate, I think. And that's bold.
It is. It is. And I don't know. If you're saying draw with Benfica, I'm going to say Real Sociedad bounces back and wins this. And I have kind of a bigger question at hand with this, because if Benfica loses, you're looking, as you mentioned, this will be 4 losses in 4 games if they lose this one. And Roger Schmidt, I get he won last season, right? I get they outperformed and played phenomenally in the Champions League last season, and probably had in them to go to the semifinals, believe it or not.
Defensive state.
Yeah, but if he sets back so severely in the Champions League, is there any reason to be like worried?
Yeah,
I'm not saying Roger Schmidt.
No. Okay. There is.
Like, do heads have to roll?
Yes.
But would Roger Schmidt actually be on the chopping block? If
and
that's
he would cost. It's rumors. I don't know if it's true. I just want to state to the people at home, but there's rumors in Portugal news that Roger Schmidt, to be sacked from Benfica, it will cost Benfica 27 million. He was extended this summer to become the all-time top earner in terms of managers ever in Portuguese league. Rui Costa made that call, so it's not going to be an easy detach if it's going to happen. But if it does, I just going to point out that I would go bold with Marcelo Gallardo. I don't even know how Marcelo Gallardo doesn't have a team. How is this possible? And other names, Isabel Freire. Abel Freire is very thrown around in Portuguese news. And even like Ruben Amorim, we didn't mention Sporting in this episode. They're top in the league, but I'm seeing Ruben Amorim's name popping up in the Man United talk all of a sudden. Yeah. So the Portuguese managers, I gotta say, we're lucky though. Like Roger Schmidt at Benfica, Sérgio Conceição at Porto, and Ruben Amorim at Sporting. I know Schmidt's not having the best form right now at Benfica, but they're top managers. Okay, for a league that is competing to be a top 5 league. So. Yeah, we're doing good with that.
just as a reference point, you mentioned 27 million, I think you said, if they were to sack Roger Schmidt. I believe it would only cost Manchester United about 15 to 16 million if they were to sack Erik ten Hag. So that shows you how much money was thrown at Roger Schmidt.
Well said,
and
mate.
you know,
Well said.
rightfully so, I guess, in those early returns. Last season was phenomenal for them. He's also helped bring on João Neves. So there's still a lot of positive there. I just think, my goodness, that first loss in the Champions League, and I hate to tie it back to the Antonio Silva red card and all that stuff, but it felt like at that point in time that UCLA, wow, that's a college in the United States. That UCL campaign just seemed doomed after that first loss, once the mystique of the Estadio da Luz was kind of broken for a second. So hopefully they get it back, because you know what? All it takes is another win or two. They could go into the Europa League. They might even be able to sneak into second place.
Mate.
You never know.
It's hard. I think even Salzburg against Inter, if Salzburg get a draw against Inter, they get 4 points. It's automatically like Benfica need to have a draw and a win. And with the amount of games that they're going to have after, this game is detrimental. If Benfica are going to the Europa League, if Benfica are doing the miracle of going through in the Champions League, they got to beat Sociedad away. And that is a bold game to do. And seeing Barca do it, Borala Roger Schmidt with João Neves, the engine of Benfica at 19, and he's not leaving the Portuguese national team. What a quality player he is. But going with the other side, Red Bull Salzburg Inter.
Yes.
How are you thinking?
I love Salzburg's 11 of prospects, but Inter Milan is too strong. Inter Milan will head to Salzburg. They just took the top of the, or they've reaffirmed themselves at the top of the Serie A. Lautaro Martinez has 12 Serie A goals in 11 games. The next best is Victor Osimhen with 6. So he's double the second best in Serie A. We're not playing in Serie A, but this is not a very convincing Salzburg side to me. While they are littered with phenomenal players, phenomenally high potential players, Inter Milan is just too good. So I think Inter Milan will go to Salzburg, and I'm going to say it again. I don't think Gerhard Struber should be the guy to lead Salzburg forward. But you know, we'll see what happens.
You love that. You love to say that.
I do. I saw him too much in MLS. I just wasn't right for the Red Bulls and isn't right moving forward for Salzburg. But he's part of that Red Bull ethos. So we'll see what happens.
And right now, Group D has 2 teams with 7 points, Real Sociedad and Inter. And I think Inter, they wanna finish first in this group, and I think they're gonna do just that. I think Roko Simic could be scoring another goal. He was quite involved in the last game in San Siro, and he played quite well in my view. So, but yes, Inter Milan. Inter in Serie A, the most goals scored in the Serie A, most less conceded goals in Serie A. The best team top to bottom in Serie A, so they're favorites to win Serie A, and they're one of our courses to win the Champions League too. So I'm going to say Inter to win this game. Group A now. Oh, yeah. Group A, for Man United fans. This week, it's going to be, they're in the limbo now. They're in the limbo now, Man United. Or it's going to go very bad this season, or it's going to go very good very good from this week onwards, okay? Because they can't fix what has been done. But Copenhagen, Man United. What are we thinking here?
Well, Onana saved their hide the last time against Copenhagen, and that was at Old Trafford. They struggled immensely for, the majority of the game versus Fulham, and they can't really seem to get a forward to score a goal. So I think, believe it or not, Copenhagen has a chance here. I don't think it's going to wind up a draw at all. I don't think that it benefits either of them. So I think it's going to be cutthroat, because this is a fight for, in my opinion, for Europa League. Copenhagen still has it, but how interesting would it be if it's a Højlund brother that scores a goal against Manchester United to give them the win in Copenhagen? It would be absolutely insanity. And I know one of the Højlund brothers got the start in the Superliga match this weekend. So we'll see if he gets it again midweek against his brother. But if United's backed into a corner, they need some goals. I can't think of a better time to just wake up and play great football. I know it's not that easy, but this is exactly the type of fixture, obviously, that Manchester United should win. It's really alarming and challenging. So to think that they will. So I'm going to say another Bruno Fernandes match winner late in the game. Manchester United will win this game.
I like it. I like your optimism on this one. And Copenhagen is not a bad team by no means, okay? No. And don't be surprised if Rooney Bargi has a masterclass late in the game against Man United, or Oscar Winter Hoyland scoring against his older brother. That would be unreal if it happens. But I'm not going to say that Man United are going to be winning this easily. I think Man United against Copenhagen away, it's a mandatory win for Erik ten Hag. He's not doing well in the Premier League, but it doesn't mean that in the Champions League, you got to be out. And if they don't win against Copenhagen away, Galatasaray will be going through in second. Galatasaray ahead of Man United.
Which I called.
Which you called. Which I called. And Bayern Munich first too, no doubt. So Man United needs to do something different. And this is the game to show every doubter that it can happen. Sacha Boey, Icardi, Mertens, Zaha, a team full of stars with Galatasaray. And if they go through against a Man United team, they're going to be mentioned worldwide. So that's what they're going to see. And I think it's going to happen too. But I'll go Man United on this one. So, and Bayern Galatasaray, we're going here. So after a historic Bayern game, right? Historic 4-0 win in their Classique against Dortmund.
Massive.
Unreal.
Massive. They just, they have their, what is it? Goretzka's never lost to them. I mean, Harry Kane scoring a hat trick in his first Klassiker, which I don't think has ever been done. Is that's got to be right, right? I honestly it's back-to-back Bundesliga hat tricks for Harry Kane. I mean, he's the first player. Harry Kane is the first player to score 15 goals in his first 10 Bundesliga games, and just 2 episodes ago, we were talking about the now injured Serhou Guirassy, and now Harry Kane has taken that over. And he's only got 1 penalty, I think, in that whole, goal haul. Leroy Sané has been an absolute beast for them this season. It's just, it was such a big game that Dortmund forgot to show up for. It was the first time that Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich were unbeaten heading into the Klassiker since, I think, 2015. Not the first time ever. Since 2015. So these were 2 great sides, and Dortmund just did not show up, or Bayern was that good. I'm going to say something counterintuitive here. The same way Saarbrücken, the loss to Saarbrücken, was historic for them and sent Bayern out of the DFB Pokal, and Harry Kane's probably like, man, that was the trophy I was definitely going to win. Dang it, Not anymore, and he was sat on the bench for that game. Maybe this 4-0 win in the Klassiker actually plays into the favor of a team that needs to go into the Allianz Arena and stamp their second place medal. And Galatasaray is, I think, a giant, not a giant, but I don't know, something that's a little bit smaller than a giant. Yeah, they are a dark horse. I mean, they continue to win. Whereas Fenerbahce just lost their first game in a long time recently. They remain a ridiculous team to beat. They've got 1 loss, I think, in their last 25 competitive games, and it was to Bayern away. So they're coming in with a chip on their shoulder. The Allianz Arena hasn't exactly been a fortress so far this season. And Mauro Icardi has the most expected goals, even though he has only scored 2. He's got the most expected goals amongst anybody in the Champions League right now. So I think you've got a lot of favorable outcomes here, favorable analytics. It's just whether or not Galatasaray shows up on the day. I think they're going to pull out a draw here. I think they're going to get a draw, and they're going to solidify second place for themselves over the last 2 fixtures, and they will go through in second place.
That's a very bold take, mate. That's a very bold take, saying Galatasaray to get a draw, because right now, Harry Kane has had his 3rd hat-trick in the Bundesliga in 10 games. And Harry Kane is definitely a top 5 player in the world at Bayern Munich. And I love that he said 3 goals scored like Unglorious Bastards taught us, okay? Say it like this, okay? He said he put his 3 fingers, not like this, like this, okay? Please watch the movie. And Harry Kane right now has 20 goals, 8 assists in 17 games for club and country. He's in an elite form, and I gotta ask you, Bretson, right now, the top goal scorer of 2023 is going with Cristiano Ronaldo with 44 goals, Haaland with 44 goals, Harry Kane with 43. Who's gonna be the top goal scorer, in your opinion, of 2023, Bretson?
Well, you know, World Soccer used to do that weighting that they would have. It'd be like 1.5 if you're in the Bundesliga and the Champions League versus probably what would just be a 1x weighting. So I'm going to say Harry Kane. Harry Kane
ahead of Haaland and Ronaldo. That's bold. Damn.
It is bold. It is bold, but Harry Kane, I mean, from a league perspective, has taken a step. It is a step down, right, from the Premier League. It is. I think we're gonna get used to seeing hat-tricks from Harry Kane, and I think Erling Haaland. I mean, we often said, like, how do you beat that first season that Erling Haaland had in the Premier League? He's still going to score a lot of goals. I just don't think he's going to score as many as Harry Kane. And Cristiano Ronaldo is still scoring goals. Absolutely. I just think if we're going from a weighting perspective, what Harry Kane is doing right now, going to a different country, it's pretty impressive stuff.
It's
very impressive stuff.
It's definitely impressive.
Yeah.
Quite impressive is to score 400 goals after the age of 30. Ronaldo did that. I think Ronaldo is on a mission right now to be the top goal scorer of 2023 and to have a positive year in 2024, especially being, 800 ranked in the Ballon d'Or? Even just the fact that there's a ranking for Ronaldo when he's out of the top 30. And that's like the only player in world of football that we saw his ranking out of the top 30. It's just mad. Like the hate that he gets. It's just mad.
It's just a shame. I mean, Harry Kane scoring 3 goals against Dortmund in the Klassiker. If he got in against Saarbrücken, I don't think they would have lost, and I'm sure he would have put a couple goals into his name. But you know, there's I think there's a big difference. I'm not taking anything away from what Cristiano Ronaldo is doing. I just think there will be a flurry of games. Oh wait, but they're going to have the winter break because they actually have the winter break. They're not crazy not misogynistic, masochistic players and owners like the Premier League, where they literally play 15 games over winter break and Boxing Day and New Year's and the festive fixtures and all that good stuff. The Germans actually shut things down for a while. So, you know what? Maybe Cristiano Ronaldo, from a pure goals without taking weighting, I mean, he's probably going to win it. I actually don't know. What is El Nasser's? What do they look like? I don't know what the fixtures look like.
It could be the case, okay? And to be fair, I'm just going to say this. If Cristiano Ronaldo, instead of going to Man United, would have gone to Bayern Munich, I 100% think he could do the 15 goals scored in 10 games in the Bundesliga that Kane's doing. 100%. Because he's one of the best finishers. No, the best finisher ever in world of football, in my view. But going with the Champions League, continuing on. The last group that we're going to mention here is Group B, that has Arsenal against Sevilla, an Arsenal team that has lost 2 games in a row last week, and they need something different. I'm going to go with Arsenal winning this game. I think Bukayo Saka will appear. I think Martin Odegaard will appear because they need those stars. They need the stars to grab the game. And especially against West Ham, you felt that not just Reece Nelson, it wasn't enough with Reece Nelson. It wasn't enough with a midfield with Fabio Vieira, Kai Havertz, Jorginho. That was such a bad midfield in terms of duels won. So bad. West Ham just grabbed the game out of their fingers, and they just did fantastic. So I think Arsenal have to win this game, and they will beat the Sevilla team with Sergio Ramos.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree with you. Sevilla also needs a win. I mean, Arsenal, we've got red flags out there. We've got the alarms, the sirens blaring because they've lost 2 in a row. Sevilla has managed just 1 win. 1 win in the last 8 games. Now, a lot of draws in there, but their only win was against a much lower league side in the Copa del Rey, and they're going to the Emirates. So I think if there's a time to put a beat down on somebody, Arsenal can get some frustrations out in this game, and that's assuming that Arteta doesn't overthink this and put out the wrong thing. The real issue right now is the depth in that roster, right? Partey injured. Yep. They need him. They need him.
It's true.
And the great thing about Arsenal is that they're to make things a little more positive than what we've been saying is they're a really tough team to beat. I know they've lost 2 in a row, but even when they lose defensively, they're very, very tough to beat.
It's true.
So
they got good compact
that's a big plus side moving forward.
Good compact
exactly.
defense.
And, yeah. So I don't think Sevilla is going to be blitzing them for 2 or 3 goals here. And if Arsenal can, I don't know. I mean, they need better depth.
Breton,
they need better consistency from their depth.
Well, very well said. You're mentioning one of the biggest. If nobody here, some of your listeners aren't Portuguese and you didn't watch the West Ham Arsenal, and I commentated the West Ham Arsenal game here in Portugal on Sports TV. Thank you, Sports TV, for making that happen. But my biggest worry was that Kai Havertz, Jorginho, the midfield with Fabio Vieira was a very weak midfield, okay? And Thomas Partey felt his absence. And he's been more than 50 games absent for this Arsenal team. For people to have a perspective, Sergio Busquets, only 26 times in his career has he justified with injury absence. Okay, Rodri, only 5 games he's missed with injury absence. In the last 3 years, Partey has had more than 50 at Arsenal. So you said it. They need more options. And maybe the signing of Douglas Luiz and that last day of the transfer window that they didn't manage to get from Aston Villa, that would have changed a lot of outcomes. I think that could be the case. I think that could be the case, Breton. He even would be starting maybe for Brazil. Because Casemiro is not looking good. Not looking good. Douglas Luiz, man. Underrated.
And United is finally finding out why you don't spend, even though we have touted it as when he is fit, when he is playing well. Obviously, Casemiro is one of the best on the planet.
It was a hit.
But when you spend as much as you do on somebody over 30 years old, sometimes this tends to happen. Bodies break down.
I 100% it's not on Casemiro. For me, I'm not on you with Casemiro. I think it's more on the chef. But yes,
I'm with you.
It's an interesting one to see what Man United and Arsenal and PSV Lens, a team that is very underrated. Lens in Liga, they're not doing too good. But last season, Sekou Fofana, they were quite impressive. Really good team.
I'm with you. I think this is one of the ones where it's kind of like anyone in the comment section deserves to tell us I told you so. But they've been slow runners, and I think what they looked at was they had a terrible start to season in Ligue 1. They have since kind of stabilized themselves, and they looked at this as kind of we have to start fresh, be good in a competitive scenario, and they're unbeaten in the league, but they have 2 away games on the horizon, and I still think they have one of the most underrated defenders in all of Ligue 1 in Facundo Medina, 24 years old, can play on the flank, but also center back, was phenomenal for them over the weekend. But listen, PSV Eindhoven,
they need it.
They're just so fun to watch right now. They've 11 wins in 11 games in the Eredivisie, 41 goals scored in those games, 5 goals conceded. They had 6 different goal scorers in their last game, so they're getting it from all over the place. And my love for Joey Veerman continues to exponentially rise day to day. But they have not looked as convincing in the Champions League against much harder competition. So this game is huge for PSV at Philips Stadion. And Lyon, once again, can play disruptor, whatever you want to call it. But it's I still back PSV and Arsenal to go through here in this group.
It's bold right now, but PSV really need a win in this game. Right now, the Group B has Arsenal with 6 points, Lyon with 5, Sevilla and PSV both with 2 points. So both games are decisive for both teams, Sevilla and PSV. And I think, look, my prediction with this group until the end, it's Sevilla's going to the Europa League. I don't know who's second. I think PSV do have the strongest team to go second, obviously with their Eredivisie form. But I think Sevilla will be going third in this group. But let us know your choices down below in the comments down below on YouTube. Let us know. Do you agree? Do you disagree with me and Breton? And please like this video if you're listening until now. Thank you for going bold with these predictions videos, because we always like to see you support here, because you guys are going bold too with those comments on YouTube.